a few minutes here. If anybody has any questions, we could bring the lights up, and you could raise your hand if you have a question. You might not. I don't know what I would ever ask. Yes. I always try to spot the person who will ask the Billie Holiday question and avoid that person. I haven't done that in like 10 years. You know, there's a way that you sound in your head, and then there's a way that you sound in the world, and those two things are often so far apart, and I didn't realize, I accidentally heard myself, and I just thought it sounded awful, so I haven't do it anymore. That's nice of you to ask. Yes. Have I ever considered doing voice work in an animated movie? They asked me to be in that movie, The Incredibles, and I just didn't want to. I'm not an actor. I mean, I didn't know. I loved the movie, and Sarah Ballard was fantastic in it. And I don't even know what part they wanted me for, but I was in California, and they said, come on up. And they didn't make it sound like it was a contest. They made it sound like it was my part, but I'm not an actor, and I didn't want to. I guess I was always afraid, as a writer, I mean, you always kind of run the risk of becoming like a personality instead of a writer. And so that's why I've never done commercials or, you know, any other like movie parts that I've been offered. That and the fact that I'm not an actor. I mean, you know, it's very flattering, and then you think, oh, I'll do this, but then they're just going to fire you because they're going to say, you suck. I mean, Sarah's not an actress, but I can't imagine anyone doing a better job. And I love those Pixar movies. Absolutely love them. Yes? Oh, the guy said, I like, you know, it's okay to read your books, but I don't think I could bear to be around you like all the time. I think that you would drive anyone crazy. Which doesn't offend me, because that's exactly true. So he asked, is Hugh as fucked up as I am? How does he handle it? And Hugh handles it like in January, we'll have been together for 21 years. But he handles it by, he doesn't listen to a word I say. He does not hear anything that I have to say to him, nothing. He doesn't even pretend anymore to hear it. He doesn't. If I call out to him, he just continues walking through the room, and I can't really blame him, because if he did listen to what I had to say, he would have left a long time ago. But I think that happens with a lot of couples. You know, you reach a point and you think, okay, look, we're too old to break up. Like, if you break up at this point, you're just going to be alone for the rest of your life. And you're going to have to open those envelopes. You know, the kind that are bills, have bills in them. Like, you would have to do that if you broke up. So it's just better just to be with them and just to tune them out. And that's what he and I have done to each other. Because Hugh doesn't, like Hugh and his mother both are two of the best read people I've ever met. Like if they go to a library or something, they pick the book with the biggest pile of dust on it. You know, something that hasn't been checked out since like 1780, and then they'll read it and they'll pass it back and forth and they'll compare notes on it. And if Hugh didn't know me, and if Hugh found one of my books, he'd throw it. Like he wouldn't have anything to do with it. Anything. At all. Anything I find funny, he says, that's horrible. And I don't know what he gets out of it. Like he does everything. We just bought a house in the south of England, and it's 450 years old, and everything about it is rotten. But we're not allowed to, but it's a listed house, so that means you can't, you can't change it in any way. You can fix it, but like you can't double pane the windows because that would keep out the historic cold. In the house, we went to visit some friends who live in this area of England called the South Downs, and it's super beautiful, right? So Hugh started looking at real estate, and all the houses, old houses, they have names, right? So our friends, Gretchen and her husband, Viv, live in the Old Manor in Sutton near Pulborough. That's the name, that's her address, the Old Manor, Sutton near Pulborough, West Sussex, and then the zip code. So Hugh found us a house called Faggot Stacks. It's located between the villages of Balls Cross and Kitty Hill. It really is. But it had been fixed up in a way that he didn't like, and it was, you just have to undo everything that had been done. So he wanted something more torn up, so we went with this other house called Swan Cottage. But 10 men have been working on it since November, and I can't talk with, I mean, he's taking care of all of that on top of everything else that he does. There's nothing he can't do. Yes? How is it that I came to volunteer at the Los Angeles County Morgue? Well, I didn't volunteer. What happened was I was living in New York, and like in 1996 or something like that, and an editor called from Esquire and asked if I would like to write for the magazine, and he said I could do whatever I wanted. And I always wanted to see a lot of dead people, and I knew that on my own I could never get into a morgue. But they could get me in. And so no morgue would have me except the Maricopa County Morgue in Phoenix. That's the one I went to. So I spent 10 days in the morgue in Phoenix, and it turned out that they let me come because they wanted me to write about their budget cuts. That's what they had an agenda, and I was just so freaked out. I'm not a reporter, I'm not a reporter, and I was just so freaked out, as anyone would be, by the dead people that were being cut into and emptied, that I never got over that. The 10 days that I spent there, I mean, I got less sick. A little, you see it on TV, and it looks just like it does on TV, but what TV leaves out is the smell. And it's a smell that if you were an animal would say to you, danger, run. Run. So that's how I got in. And it really changed my life to see that kind of thing. And in Phoenix, everyone has a gun, and people shoot each other over parking spaces. So, people would come in with like 5 holes in their head, and it gives you an idea that the city you're in is really dangerous. So I'd never been so frightened either, like just walking from my hotel to Denny's. Or you eat dinner and then you wonder what it's going to look like in your stomach when they cut it open and empty it out the next day. But that they have a law and order sheriff there in Maricopa County. Joe, I don't remember his last name. Arpaio. And he had just mandated that if you were caught drunk driving, you had to witness an autopsy. And so they had these rooms, they had these glass observation rooms, and people were going and then they were projectile vomiting against the glass. And because of their budget cutbacks, they didn't have people to clean the glass. So they had to stop. But it's actually not a bad idea. Like if you were caught drunk driving, to have to witness an autopsy. Not a bad idea, really. It would really shake you up to, I say that as someone who doesn't drive, see. Like there's no way, well, I would drink and get behind the wheel just so I could see an autopsy. That's what I would do. Yes. Oh, that's not a lame question at all. Do I have any question for a young writer who wants to get stuff out there? Well, my advice to a young writer would be to write every single day and to read everything you can get your hands on. Like that means on Christmas and on weekends, and just do it every other day, every single day. And getting stuff out there, I was always told to leave that to somebody else. That should not be your concern. Your concern should just be with writing. And I was always told you should just do that. Someday when the time is right, someone will call and say, do you have a book we can publish? And that's what I did. I wrote every day, and the phone rang, and it was Little Brown, and they said, do you have a book we can publish? And I said, I've got one right here in this drawer. And I gave it to them, and that was Barrel Fever. So it's exactly the way, it sounds crazy, but that's exactly the way that it worked out for me, and so that's the only way I know. And, just again, to work, just to work every day. If anybody else has a question or would like a book signed, I'll be in the lobby, and we've got Rivertown is in the lobby, and then this Dutch thing is going to be there. Thank you so much for coming.